The room smelled of chemicals. Bright red burns marked Alina Asif's face, the skin around her mouth raw and blistered. She lay motionless on her bed, her eyes wide open, frozen in fear. Outside, the house was quiet, a normal Long Island afternoon, but inside, terror had struck like lightning. Her husband, Asif Qureshi, a man she had trusted for years, had become the face of horror. The police said it looked like something out of a nightmare. A chemical substance held over her, choking the life out of her in her own home. How could a place that once held love turn into a house of horrors? It had all happened so fast. One moment, Alina had been going about her day. The next, she was trapped, unable to escape, gasping for air, the deadly chemical burning her from the inside. Her children were at school, blissfully unaware, while the nightmare unfolded in the very room they had once shared laughter and stories. When the 911 call finally came, the first responders walked into a scene no one should ever have to see. Alina was gone, and the smell of the chemical hung heavy in the air. Officers immediately noticed the burns on her face, the unusual odor, and the signs that someone had hidden inside the house before attacking her. It was chilling. It was real. It was unthinkable. The neighbors later said they never suspected anything. Alina and her husband seemed normal, even happy at times. But behind the closed doors of their home, a deadly plan had been executed. Investigators quickly began piecing together what happened. Asif Qureshi, the software engineer, allegedly snuck into the house while no one was home, holding a vial of poison in his hands. Every movement, every second counted. Alina had no way to fight back. How had it come to this? How had trust turned into terror? Detectives worked quietly, scanning the room for evidence, trying to make sense of the horror. Chemical burns, signs of forced entry, traces of the deadly substance. It was all pointing to one person. And the more they discovered, the darker the story became. Alina's life, once filled with normal routines, family dinners, and quiet evenings, ended violently in the room she had always called safe. As news spread through the town, friends and neighbors were left shocked and scared. The quiet streets of Long Island now whispered a terrifying truth. Sometimes, danger hides where you least expect it, even in your own home. And yet, even as the police worked tirelessly, one question loomed over everyone. Why would someone do this to their own wife? But the answers were only beginning to emerge. Evidence suggested this was no random attack. There were secrets, hidden tensions, and a life behind closed doors that no one could have imagined. And then came the most shocking discovery of all, something that would change everything detectives thought they knew about Alina's final moments. Detectives uncovered something that sent chills through everyone involved. Hidden behind a loose panel in the living room, they found a small notebook filled with strange notes, lists of chemicals, scribbled warnings, and unsettling observations about Alina's daily habits. It was as if someone had been planning this for months, studying her routines, memorizing her every movement. The evidence was mounting, and the horror of what had happened was sinking deeper into the minds of investigators. How could a husband plan such a terrifying act against the woman he vowed to love?
But to understand the full story, one had to look back at Alina and Asif's life before that tragic day. Friends remembered a couple who seemed perfect on the outside. Alina was warm, caring, and always smiling, while Asif was a dedicated software engineer, working long hours but occasionally sharing jokes with neighbors. Yet behind closed doors, things had begun to crack. There were arguments no one else saw, moments of tension that hinted at something darker. Alina had confided in a few friends that she felt uneasy at times, that certain actions or words made her nervous, though she never imagined it would lead to this. In the days leading up to the attack, Alina had noticed strange things around the house. Doors slightly open when she knew she had locked them. Items moved from their usual places. She chalked it up to stress, to a busy household. But deep down, a sense of dread had begun to grow. Meanwhile, Asif's behavior had shifted too. Late nights at work, sudden bursts of anger, and a quiet intensity in his eyes made her feel trapped, even in the home she loved. No one could have predicted it would end with chemical burns and a life stolen so violently. The police interviewed neighbors, friends, and colleagues. Everyone described the couple as ordinary, even loving. No one imagined the terrifying secret hiding behind their front door. And yet, in the quiet moments of investigation, a chilling pattern emerged. The chemicals found in the home were not ordinary household cleaners. They were deadly poisons, carefully stored and handled. Whoever had done this had knowledge, precision, and a clear plan. It was methodical, calculated, and horrifyingly personal. As investigators dug deeper, the walls of the house seemed to hold more than memories. They held evidence of betrayal. Emails, messages, and phone records painted a picture of a relationship strained by secrets, fears, and hidden anger. The perfect life Alina and Asif projected to the world was now shattered, replaced by the reality of danger and murder. And just when it seemed the pieces were coming together, detectives uncovered something even more shocking: a hidden room in the basement. It wasn't obvious at first, just a faint outline behind stacked boxes and old furniture. Inside, they found traces of the same deadly chemical, along with equipment that suggested preparation and practice. Someone had rehearsed this horror. Someone had been waiting for the right moment, and the moment had finally arrived. The hidden basement room was more horrifying than anyone imagined. Detectives carefully stepped inside, the smell of chemicals making them gag. Bottles of deadly poison were neatly labeled, gloves and masks scattered around as if someone had been preparing for weeks. It was clear now, this was no crime of passion or sudden rage. This was planned, methodical, chilling. Alina hadn't just been a victim, she had been hunted in her own home. As investigators pieced together the timeline, a terrifying picture emerged. On the day of her death, Asif Qureshi had waited until the children were gone, carefully slipping into the house. He knew exactly where Alina would be, what she would do first, even which door she would take to avoid the basement. Minutes turned into an eternity as Alina unknowingly moved through the house, trapped by a nightmare she couldn't see coming. And then the chemical was released, burning her from the inside and leaving marks on her face as evidence of the horror she endured. Neighbors watched in disbelief as the investigation unfolded. A man they thought they knew, someone trusted, was now the prime suspect in a brutal, calculated murder. The story spread like wildfire through Long Island, a grim reminder that danger can hide behind familiar doors. Friends and family struggled to understand how a husband could betray and murder his wife with poison, something so cold, so clinical, and so horrifyingly deliberate. Asif Qureshi was arrested days later, his calm demeanor at the police station doing nothing to ease the horror of his actions. Charges of second-degree murder and first-degree burglary were filed, and court hearings began. The authorities described the scene as a house of horrors, emphasizing the cruelty and meticulous planning behind Alina's death. In interviews, detectives revealed the basement setup, the notebooks, and the painstaking preparations. Every detail underscored the terrifying truth. This was not an accident, and it was not random. Alina's children were left devastated, struggling to understand a world where their mother was taken in such a cruel and calculated way. Family and friends mourned, remembering her warmth, her laughter, and the life that had been stolen. But even in grief, questions lingered. Why had this happened? How had someone so close become so dangerous? The trial is set to continue, but the chilling facts remain. A trusted husband, a quiet home, and a deadly chemical turned an ordinary day into a nightmare no one could forget. Long Island may never see a crime like this again, but the story of Alina Asif will serve as a grim warning. Sometimes the people we love can hide the darkest secrets. And for those listening, remember this: look closely at the ordinary, question the familiar, because horror can hide where you least expect it. But to understand the full story, one had to look back at Alina and Asif's life before that tragic day. Friends remembered a couple who seemed perfect on the outside. Alina was warm, caring, and always smiling, while Asif was a dedicated software engineer, working long hours but occasionally sharing jokes with neighbors. Yet behind closed doors, things had begun to crack. There were arguments no one else saw, moments of tension that hinted at something darker. Alina had confided in a few friends that she felt uneasy at times, that certain actions or words made her nervous, though she never imagined it would lead to this. In the days leading up to the attack, Alina had noticed strange things around the house. Doors slightly open when she knew she had locked them. Items moved from their usual places. She chalked it up to stress, to a busy household, but deep down, a sense of dread had begun to grow. Meanwhile, Asif's behavior had shifted too. Late nights at work, sudden bursts of anger, and a quiet intensity in his eyes made her feel trapped, even in the home she loved. No one could have predicted it would end with chemical burns and a life stolen so violently. The police interviewed neighbors, friends, and colleagues. Everyone described the couple as ordinary, even loving. No one imagined the terrifying secret hiding behind their front door. And yet, in the quiet